Lesson 10, Roles and Responsibilities, Part 2, Governance Roles. Welcome to Lesson 10. This is the second of 3 lessons that look at roles and responsibilities in a SIAM environment. This lesson looks at governance roles. Before we start, we need to define governance. Within a SIAM ecosystem, governance means the definition and application of policies and standards. These define and ensure the required levels of authority, decision-making, and accountability. COBIT 5 is a governance framework for IT services. The diagram you can see on screen here shows the governance activities defined within COBIT: evaluate, direct, and monitor. The lower-level activities of plan, build, run, and monitor are defined as management activities by COBIT. Here, you can see the same diagram with the SIAM layers mapped onto it. The customer sets the overall strategy that defines, amongst other things, what needs to be governed. The service integrator carries out governance and management activities on behalf of the customer, and the service providers are involved in management activities only. We mentioned earlier in the course that it can be a significant change for the customer organization to move from a management role to a governance role. This diagram clearly shows how that change needs to happen for SIAM to be successful. If the customer is involved in management activities, they risk making the role of the service integrator redundant. SIAM governance applies to the strategic, tactical, and operational levels. Governance boards are used to carry out governance activities at each level. Boards are defined as decision-making bodies that are accountable for their decisions. We're going to study 3 types of governance boards: executive boards that provide strategic governance, tactical boards, operational boards. Every SIAM model will require boards at the strategic, tactical, and operational levels. In complex environments, there may be numerous boards at each level. For example, the strategic level might separate out into a program board, an IT steering board, a commercial and contract board, and so on. Each SIAM model needs to balance the number of meetings held against the governance requirements and the benefits of having the boards in place. Boards are structural elements within a SIAM model. Let's start with the executive boards that provide strategic governance in a SIAM model. These boards are attended by senior staff and play an important role in establishing a SIAM culture by showing senior managers walking the walk. If staff sees senior managers not attending the executive boards or treating them as optional, they are more likely to opt out of the tactical and operational boards because they will not see them as important. There are 2 main types of executive board. The first board is attended by the customer organization, the service integrator, and all service providers. This board is used for strategic updates and to discuss overall service performance. The second type of board is attended by the customer organization, the service integrator, and one service provider. This allows a service provider to discuss commercial issues related to strategy and performance in a private environment. These types of boards are available to all service providers. Executive boards will usually be held on a quarterly basis. To learn more about executive boards, click on each of the buttons on the screen. The executive board agenda can include customer strategy updates for 6 months, 1 year, and 3 years, service integrator strategy updates where relevant, service provider strategy updates where relevant, high-level service review, contractual performance review, planning for innovation. Customer attendees to the executive board can include the chief information or chief technology officer, head of delivery, or service delivery director. The service integrator attendees will include the operations director, contract and commercial director. Service provider attendees can include the operations director, contract and commercial director, account executive, and chief information or chief technology officer. You can see some examples of inputs and outputs for an executive board here. Customer organizations in a SIAM model expect to gain benefit from all the parties in the ecosystem working together. They will expect innovation, not just business as usual service delivery. Strategic innovations will be discussed at the executive boards. As with any meeting that produces action logs, someone must be accountable for making sure those actions take place. This is often the role of the service integrator. The next governance board we need to study is the tactical board, which sits between the strategic and operational boards. This board is the only board that is never attended by the customer. It is used by the service integrator and the service providers to prepare for operational boards and to carry out discussions before meeting with the customer to discuss, for example, any service issues. The tactical board can be used to identify items for escalation to the strategic board and acts as a point of escalation for the operational boards. Tactical boards are usually held on a monthly basis. To learn more about tactical boards, click on each of the buttons on. The tactical board agenda will vary depending on any service issues that are being experienced. The service integrator can use the meeting to apply financial and non-financial penalties to a service provider. For example, if a service provider isn't meeting its targets, the service integrator might agree to waive a financial penalty in return for them dedicating more resources to fixing the issue. The board will discuss outputs from the strategic board and create tactical action plans and review any items that have been escalated from the operational boards. On the screen. Typical tactical board attendees will be service delivery managers, service managers, process owners as required, account managers. Remember, the customer organization does not attend this meeting, but staff from the service integrator and the service providers do. This includes staff from internal service providers who are technically part of the customer organization, but not attending as the customer. You can see some examples of inputs and outputs to this board here. It's important to create a culture where service providers feel comfortable sharing information and ideas in front of each other, and don't try to withhold information. The next type of board is an operational board. These are used to discuss service performance at a lower level than the tactical and executive boards. The main operational board reviews service performance and acts as an operational escalation point. For example, if the incident management process forum has identified potential improvements to the process, the operational board might approve them and allocate resources. Operational boards are typically held on a monthly basis. To learn more about operational boards, click on each of the buttons. The operational board agenda can include review of monthly performance reports and customer satisfaction, and actions and decisions, critical and major incident reviews, review of escalated items. Buttons on the screen. You can see some examples of operational board attendees here. The customer won't necessarily attend all operational boards, but they can attend if they wish to, or if they are invited for a particular agenda item. Here you can see some of the board's inputs and outputs. The board will be able to approve improvement actions up to a set limit. Above that limit, it will need to escalate the action for approval at a higher level board. We're going to finish this lesson with an exercise to ask you to think about a common type of operational board, the Change Advisory Board, or CAB. The CAB is defined as a board because it makes decisions and will be held accountable for them. Plan to spend 20 minutes on this exercise, and don't forget to review our suggested solution. Create a profile of a Change Advisory Board. It will need to include what the CAB is, attendees, frequency, agenda, inputs, outputs. You can use your own experience to help you, and read the description of change management in the process guides if you need some ideas to get started with. When you finish the exercise, use the Next button to move on to the end of lesson quiz. You've completed Lesson 10, where we've studied governance roles. In Lesson 11, we'll look at management roles within the SIAM ecosystem.